Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3 Martini Lunch. My name is Jay Izso, and I am surrounded by this country's best thought leaders and most prolific business people, some of the most successful people in this country that we know. Profits, nonprofits, they are here today. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the head bartender, the chief chef, if you will, the, lead guitarist, the lead singer, and she's stepping in for the big guy, and her name is Sarah Elliot.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually going to hand the microphone over to Domenic Battistella, who is a fabulous leader in Rockstar and all things insurance, and a fabulous all-around individual. So, Domenic, you take it.
I appreciate it, Sarah, and thank you for allowing me to be the substitute teacher for the day. I know Stephen is feeling a little bit under the weather, so we are not going to be graced by his electrifying presence today, but I think we can manage 1 week without him. Unfortunately, we will miss Stephen. But regardless, we're going to just jump right into the question this week, because this is a question that we dance around. Some of us address it from time to time when we talk about what we do and the types of businesses or nonprofits that we have. But this is a simple question that I find myself always evaluating, and I find myself asking other people, and there's a hard time identifying it. So I want us to be able to share ours with the public so they have a greater understanding of what we do as entrepreneurs and the passion that we have in our business. And that's one simple word: why. And what is your why for doing what you do? Please share it. Please share why it's what makes your business a passion for you, and share what it means to you for other people to identify why they do what they do and why it's important to connect like that. So I'm going to start with somebody who I know, because we are in the same industry. He probably has a very well identified why when it comes to the business that he's done for many years. Damon, why don't you start this off and share with us what your why is, and share what you do also, so people have a better context of that why.
You bet. What I do is I am a certified financial planner and investment advisor, wealth management advisor, and coach for high net worth clients. So that's what I do. And I think a lot of people get into this business because they think, ooh, I'm going to make a great living. And you can make a great living doing this work. But the reason I got into it, my why, when I was, by the time I was 24 years old, I found myself about $20,000 in credit card debt. And I know when you look around and people talk about their student debt, and we're talking like $150,000, $200,000 in debt, you're thinking, well, 20,000 doesn't sound like much. It was for me. And it was crushing, because I could barely make my rent. I could barely pay my car payment. And there was never any money left over to go buy things like food. And so I could afford to buy peanut butter and bread. And that's what I lived on for months at a time. One night I was leaving, and I had a job. I got a degree. I didn't have any student debt. I got into this because right out of college, I got an apartment with 2 of my buddies. And, what do you do when you get a nice townhouse? You got to furnish it, and you got to turn it into the bachelor pad where all the girls are going to come to for the parties, right?
That's correct.
That's the 24-year-old male brain. Get women. That's the only concern that I had, okay?
And money is no object in that.
That's exactly right. In the pursuit for a mate.
Yes.
And you're too young to know how stupid you are at that time. And so I made a lot of stupid choices. And I racked up and I got a credit card for the first time, and I used it and had a good time. Flash forward a few years, and now I'm in debt. One night, I'm driving home from work. I have an 8 to 5 job. I work in the financial industry at a credit union at that time. And I noticed that my car was on empty. I have zero gas. There's a 7-Eleven down the street from where I live. So I pulled up, and as I pulled up, I realized, how am I going to pay for this? My credit cards are maxed out. My bank account is on life support. I don't have any money. So I started rummaging around in the seat backs and everywhere in my car to find any loose change. And I found 40 cents. And in one of the most humiliating moments of my life, I took 40 cents into 7-Eleven and I bought 40 cents worth of gas because that's all I could afford. And I came out, and I don't know if you've ever pumped 40 cents worth of gas, but it doesn't take very long. Okay. And then I got in my car and I just burst into tears because I could not believe that I had allowed this to happen to myself. I did it to myself. I had no one else to blame. Couldn't blame my parents because they didn't teach me right. I couldn't blame society. I was paying a hefty stupid tax. So I had my pity party for about 5 minutes. I went home. I owned one suit that had like holes in it, but I put it on and I went down to the local mall, and there's a department store in Oklahoma called Dillard's. And I went and I got a second job. And I worked that second job. And then about 2 weeks later, I realized, I've got some time between like 10 o'clock at night and 5 o'clock in the morning. So I went and got a third job, and I loaded trucks for a shipping company overnight. So I worked 3 jobs almost around the clock for 18 months. And every extra dollar I had went towards the debt. And in that crucible, I realized, number one, I'm never doing this again. I'm never going to owe anybody money. Number two, I'm going to learn everything I can about money so that I don't just get out of debt, I build wealth. And number three, I've got to use this experience to teach other people how to avoid my stupidity. And whether you believe in a higher being, God, whatever, I believe in God. And so I looked at God and I said, if you ever give me the opportunity, I'm going to teach other people how to not just avoid my mistakes, but how to build wealth and learn about this stuff and know the why. Why is my money doing what it's doing? Not just what is my money doing? That's why I'm an advisor.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I just happen to teach through the language of finance and money. And I love seeing people succeed. I used to be ashamed to tell my story. Now I'm proud of it because I believe that our failures and our struggles, there's honor in that if you learn from it and you allow it to mold you into something better than what you once were. So that's my why.
That is a great story, Damon. And nothing teaches a better lesson than failure. And there is no better motivator than hitting rock bottom. Absolutely. So, hey, that's a great story about pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. And it's a great reason why you do what you do and why you educated yourself, and you don't want to allow other people to have to experience the same thing that you went through.
Yeah, you've got to have something that will continue to stoke your passion, because you're going to have rotten, horrible days where you question, am I good enough to do this? You need to be able to go back to that story and remind yourself why I do this, because otherwise you'll give up and go do something else.
Now, I can say that if there's anybody in here that wasn't in their early 20s and some point like searching under the couch cushions for change to be able to afford something to eat at the McDonald's or the Crystal or whatever that night, you didn't have the college and the young adult experience, or at least you didn't live it to the fullest. So Damon, I have to say that's probably a universal experience, but one that is motivating for sure. All right, I'm going to move on to somebody else that I know has a very, very powerful why, and that's Katie Blomquist. Katie, would you share with us what your why is?
Sure. So my why kind of started just as like a nice thing to do. There wasn't a whole big thing that led up to my starting my nonprofit. So I was a teacher in a low income school, and I just wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something nice for a kid that didn't have a lot of nice things. And so he asked me for a bike on his birthday, and that's when I started realizing, oh my gosh, well, if he doesn't have a bike, I bet other kids in my class don't have a bike. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, what about the kids I had last year that have moved on to second grade, and those kids are on to third grade, and so on. And so I did a GoFundMe to just get every kid in my school a bike, just thinking this will be nice, a one-time, a one-off nice thing to do. And it was 650 bikes and locks and helmets I was fundraising for. And my thought was, I'll just keep fundraising till it happens. I didn't have a plan. I didn't really think it through. I didn't realize what a big deal it was, because to me, it was just what teachers do for their kids. You get them things they don't have, and you do nice things. And so, once it went viral, and I realized it was having this impact for a reason. Like, things go viral for a reason, and there's a reason not everything goes viral. So once I started to really think about, well, wait, like, why is this such a big deal across the whole country? I mean, people in other countries were even donating. Why this? I started hearing other people's stories and realizing that what was happening was more than what I realized, and that it was touching people in the sense that this was about joy. And not every child has joy, and people were remembering back to their childhoods. Everyone can connect with the bike, whether you had one or not, but most of the time you find people had one. And so it's this memory they took for granted. And so it's just this simple pleasure in life. It's a rite of passage for children almost. So I just thought, oh my gosh, if I was able to impact, once I heard the stories of families, and they would come pick up their kid's bike and see the joy and the kids falling to the ground shaking, I thought, this is where I'm making my impact in the world. Like, it's not at the guided reading table, it's not in the classroom teaching time, how to read a clock. It's this. So when I founded my nonprofit, I kind of went off of what the GoFundMe going viral. I went off of that momentum, and just thought, if I could impact 650 kids with a GoFundMe, that's not even tax deductible. That was just people donating. And I raised over $80,000 doing that in 3 months. Imagine what I could do with a actual charitable organization and putting full-time effort into it. So my why is just every kid deserves joy.
That's a great why.
So for everybody watching this, Katie's GoFundMe, or Katie's, not your GoFundMe, your nonprofit is called Going Places. And so if you want to contribute to that, go check her out, goingplaces.org, right?
It's goingplacesnonprofit.org. I'll put the link in here. But then I also started I have an LLC now where I teach people how to do the same thing. It's a membership-based course. It's an academy, because so many people were asking me, I've always wanted to do that, do this, do that. And how do I do it? How do I make it, go viral? Because I've been able to keep up this momentum for years with national media and stuff. And there's very specific things that I did. And so I was constantly meeting with people, and it would be like 2 hours of me just spewing out unorganized information, and then frantically writing notes, and then leaving with like feeling like they were shell shocked, like, oh my gosh, overwhelmed. So to me, it's not a competition, like, there's enough money in this world to go around. We're all trying to help the community, and make it better, help, different, no one's copying each other's programs, and it's the exact same thing. Why not spread my knowledge? I figured it out the hard way. Why not just tell people the right way to do it? So in my course, it's membership based. So it's extremely affordable, and it's, 30 plus lessons where I literally tell you step by step what you need to do.
Thank you, Katie.
Yep.
So we have somebody new in the group today. We have Joey Natale. Now, I have not had the pleasure of meeting Joey in the past. So Joey, welcome. And I'd like for you to share with us what you do so we all get introduced to you as well as the viewers at home, but also share with us why you do it. Joey, we do not have sound from you, sir. Do you have the correct speaker, the correct microphone attached? Joey, we'll let you figure out your technical difficulties here. In the meantime, I want to talk to Jenny. Jenny, as a marketing guru and expert, one thing I'd like you to share, in addition to your why, because I'm sure you have a very well thought out, concise why you do what you do, but how do you help your clients figure out how best to communicate their why to the people that they want to reach?
First, thank you for the question today. I think it's very intentional, and it needs to be something that, I mean, there's, a whole movement, Simon Sinek, start with why, right? So what I do and why I do it is because I figured out that after spending many years as a social worker, helping other people kind of redefine I worked in hospitals, so people would come sick and having had strokes and amputations and brain injuries and all kinds of spinal cord injuries, and really having to adapt to what would be a new normal, right? Or a redefining of what their life would look like. So after helping them reframe their stories for as long as I did, and getting totally burnt out and not able to, function as a functional human being anymore, and like a member of my family, I had to get out. Because it's the harsh reality of when you're in a helping profession, sometimes that happens. And so as I was finding my way out, I kind of stumbled through this very long entrepreneurial process where I landed on brand and marketing photography and content marketing strategy for businesses and professionals. And what I get to do there is help my clients share themselves in the digital space, whether it's through photos, we do videos, we do, I run a marketing collective, so we have every expert that you might need to market your business as part of my collective. And, the number one thing that people say to me when they come in is, I'm overwhelmed, I'm frustrated, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And I always go back to them and reframe it and say, well, tell me who you are. Tell me what you do. Right? Give me your elevator pitch. And then we throw the elevator pitch out the window and we start from scratch.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
Of course we do. Because really, so here's a really fun, I'm part of a BNI. Every week we have a word of the day. Every week I rewrite my elevator pitch. In the 7 minutes I have before my turn, using that word of the day, right? So I can do that because I've practiced enough, kind of redefining my story along the way and being able to craft it to the audience to which I'm delivering it. I don't give the same content to TikTok that I do to Facebook. I mean, I'm the same person everywhere. Like, what you see is what you get. I have a podcast. It's called Girls Who Do Stuff. I censor myself here because I just do.
Yes, you do.
The podcast is NSFW most of the time, but the reality is I'm the same. The number one thing you can do, present yourself as the same person on every platform. The content doesn't have to be the same, but you have to be you, right? There's no one youer than you. I mean, I can quote Dr. Seuss for days on this. Like, there's a reality, right, that we lose when we think that we have to present ourselves in a way that's in this antiquated notion of professionalism. right? To be professional is to have integrity, to be respectful, to be kind and compassionate, and to be able to have a skill that's marketable that you can actually like follow through and get paid for, right? That you're an expert, you're a subject matter expert, so you do the job or the skill, and you can get money in exchange for that, right? That's professionalism. I have purple hair. Like, who's to tell me that that's right now? It's purple. I know it changes colors. Um, very regularly changes colors.
Well, you are a branding photographer. People expect some eccentricity
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that
I
profession.
can, but here's the thing: people see that's the assumption, right? That I
Yeah.
can get away with it because I'm a creative, right? Because I'm a photographer. So it's no big deal that like my shoe breaks when I'm walking into a networking meeting and I just throw my shoes away. And so people are like, of course Jenny's barefoot, because true story. That happened to me on a random Friday morning. I was walking into a networking event. My shoe broke, threw them away, and just continued walking inside. Um, but that's, because people know I am who I am. The answer of it is, right, is that when you are that person on every platform, then you have set the expectation and you are your subject matter expert, and people know what to expect from you. And as
So
long as you follow through with that.
so to boil it down, the biggest the best advice you have, or for advising people on defining their why, is be authentic.
Yeah, you do you, boo. Here, wait, let me turn my cup around.
Yeah.
There it is.
We don't have a
Boo.
catchphrase on our podcast, do we?
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reality of it, right? Speak to your audience, know who you want to talk to, and give them the information that they need so they choose you.
Awesome. That is fantastic advice. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. Now I'm going to make an attempt to go back to Joey. Joey, do we have our microphone problem corrected?
Testing. Hello. Can
I
you hear me?
hear you. Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Joey,
Hello.
tell us about yourself. What do you do? What is your why?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here. My name is Joey Natale, as you mentioned. I am a holistic confidence coach for nerds. I help them with social skills, building self-esteem, and building their confidence to help with their relationships of all kinds. Why do I do this? Well, for starters, I'm a nerd. And I am old enough where when I was younger, being a nerd wasn't as mainstream as it is cool today. So that definitely put me in the outcast category in a lot of ways. But more of a deeper reason, I grew up believing that I was more introverted and quiet and shy. And there's nothing wrong with introverts, of course. But it was more so deeper, and I didn't really believe in myself. In fact, I used to believe, for some reason, I used to believe that I would never be able to attract a woman. I felt that I was extremely unattractive in all ways and just wasn't really good enough. There was a moment, actually, I had to have a group project with a younger girl when I was in grade school, and she scooted in closer to me and whispered in my ear, and I backed up immediately, like, oh, you don't want to be near me. I don't ever want someone to feel, not just in relationships, but even connection with friends and professionals, that they aren't good enough to level up their life in a lot of ways. I just got tired of not feeling like I am just a nobody. And so I sought to level up my skills. As Les Brown once said, you have talents and skills within you that you haven't even discovered yet. And it turns out that I'm actually one of the most social people I know. And I have quite a gift for communication and connecting with others. And through these talents and gifts that I've learned and developed, I want to help people also level those up so they can have a thriving life. I want people to thrive.
That is a fantastic why, Joey. And Jay, Natale, not Natalie, this is a conversation from earlier. We're going to have to address that later. There's so much here to unpack, Joey. I mean, there's the introvert, extrovert dynamic there, because you may hear me being all bubbly and extroverted in this type of environment, but truth be told, I'm an introvert because being around people costs me energy. It doesn't provide me fuel energy. Uh, that being said, a lot of what you're touching on has to do with internalizing your imposter syndrome and not feeling like you have the skills to survive in a particular area. And I think that's a conversation that you could certainly continue with Jenny, because she's our resident expert on imposter syndrome and how to deal with that. As far as dealing with women, I would say that you need to talk to Damon King about the need for $20,000 worth of furniture for your apartment, because that might have solved your problem but created something else. Something else that our next speaker would have been able to help you with, and that being Mark Sher. Mark, can you share with us what your why is?
What my why is? Well, thanks everyone for being here and for having me here. Always enjoy the 3 Martini lunch. My why? Well, my why is, it's interesting. It's a little complicated, but I'll give it a go. Okay. So some of you know me personally, some of you don't, but the ones that know me personally, if I told you I used to be introverted, you'd probably laugh. Okay. And when I was in elementary school and junior high school, I would fall asleep in class. And they'd bring me to the principal's office, and my parents would get called, and they weren't calling because I fell asleep in class. They were calling because the teacher said I was cheating. And my parents go, well, how do you know he was cheating? Well, all he does is sleep, but he gets every answer right on the tests. So that's kind of the definition to me of someone who's introverted. And as I was growing up, I had to learn some important lessons. And one thing is, most people who are introvert are a little bit higher, on the IQ scale. So I had to learn to be stupid, or keep it simple stupid. That way people didn't get afraid. Okay. So that's the very, very beginning. So I can totally relate to you, Joey, right there. Okay. So then I entered the work world, the business world. I became, success is all relative, but, I was fairly successful. And I was good at what I did, and I was in the technology world. And I sold my business in the early 90s to my second biggest competitor. And I wasn't Bill Gates, but I did pretty darn good. And then 99, 2000, I went through a divorce that was a 7-figure event. And I had to make a decision. Did I want to go out and eat at Red Lobster on dates, which isn't a bad thing, but my lifestyle had grown to be more than that. So I had to re-enter the work world, and I went into the financial arena. And I found that one of the biggest issues that most people have in the financial arena is most people have no clue to what they're telling you. Damon is someone that's an exception, but most people just have no clue. If you go look on the National Bureau of Labor Statistics at certified financial planners, do you know what I'm going to say, Damon? Less than 72% have never been to college or graduated high school. And they're telling you how to invest money. It's the biggest problem in our country. Okay. So the biggest problem with those people, and again, there are good people like Damon, they understand something. And Damon hit it the nail on the head. And this is what we specialize in. Debt. Before COVID and the insane political situation in our country, when I talked to people, the number one problem they all said was debt, personal debt. Okay. And there's a stupid guy by the name of Warren Buffett. And a couple of years ago, a woman won a contest where she had the opportunity to sit with Warren and ask and get free financial consulting. And he asked her, he goes, ma'am, do you have any credit cards? Yes, Mr. Buffett, I do. And what's the average interest rate you're paying? 18%. Okay. And so what was your question again? How should I invest my money, ma'am? I don't know where you can make 18% on your money. You need to get rid of your debt first. And most people don't understand this. Okay. I know you need to have a mortgage. It's important, but most people don't know this. Why? Because the government says you don't have to know this. The only thing you have to know when you take out a mortgage is the APR. I'm going to use a small $300,000 3% mortgage. Your payment's going to be about $1,264 a month. You know what your interest is the first year? First month? It is 43%. And people go, well, you know, Mark, mortgages are all front loaded. And I go, you're right. So riddle me this. Why in the 10th year are you paying 32% in interest? Why in the 20th year are you already down to 19%? You're not paying 3% to the middle of the 28th year. And when you show this to people, they go, that's impossible. They go, you got your mortgage? They go, yeah. And you can go through it because there's going to be an amortization schedule in there, but they don't have to show it to you. And I can go on and on and on and on. Okay. And most people don't have this information. And it's a huge problem. So what we specialize in is we show people how to eliminate their debt without spending any more than they're currently spending, and teach them and educate them on how money really, really works. Because most people have no clue. Most people go, well, I got a CPA. I go, great. This is one of my favorite analogies. Okay. Most CPAs have no clue. And by the way, the average income from a CPA is $70,000 a year. And I always say this to people. So you're making $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year. Do you want to listen to somebody who's making 60 or 70,000? Or do you want to talk to somebody who's making more than you make so you can learn from them? How many people think nutrition is an important part of your day-to-day health? Right? Okay. How many people have friends or access to a medical doctor? Ask them how many classes on nutrition did they get in the whole time they're in medical school, and you're going to get either this or this. Look at what a CPA studies. What do they study? They study accounting, assets and liability, FIFO, LIFO, and the tax code. They're not taught how money really works. So they're constantly telling their clients the wrong thing. And I deal with this every single day, and I like it because I enjoy the challenge. And those of you who know me know I've got kind of a feisty personality. So I like having intellectual discussions with people. And it's fun because, the one thing is opinions are opinions are opinions, but numbers don't lie. And the last thing I'm going to say when it comes to this is that the average American, here's where your money goes. Everyone tells you save money, you'll become successful. 3% is what you save of every dollar. 34% goes out the back door in interest. A lot of people go, Mark, my credit cards aren't that high. I go, but you got a mortgage, right? They go, yeah. And they go, well, I'm only paying 3%. And then I show them what I just explained to you so they can see it. They go, oh my God, I had no idea. We pay 40% in taxes, and that's all taxes. Federal income tax. Some states have state income tax. Some states have city income tax. Everywhere you turn, you're taxed. If you enjoy adult beverages, there's taxes. If you smoke, there's taxes. Those of us who have a cell phone, it's a small tax, but you look at your phone bill, there's a federal tax everywhere. So on every phone bill. So when you can learn how to, on the same amount of money, reduce the amount of interest you're paying, and then reduce the amount of taxes you pay, by default, you live a better lifestyle. By the way, right now you're living on about 23%. Is, if you take 3, 34, 40, excuse me, it's less, it's 26% is what you live on. 23%, excuse me, it's 23% is what you actually live on for lifestyle. And if you can just reduce the amount of interest you pay, reduce the amount of taxes, by default, you're going to save 15% instead of 3%. Damon, how much easier it is to retire when you're saving 15% than 3%? A lot easier, right? So this is what we teach people to do. And when you show people this, I can't tell you how many people hug me, kiss me, are crying. It's like it's totally life-changing. And the other side of what I do is when I can teach people how to do this and make them successful, what have I done? I now can reach out through them and touch more people that need help, while making someone else successful. So there's my why.
Appreciate that, Mark. Thank you for sharing. And
My pleasure.
It's a powerful story, and it's a powerful narrative because everybody experiences that. It's universal. I want to go to Lisa next. Hi, Lisa. You've been waiting patiently.
Hi, thank you for calling on me. Thank you for
Yeah, of
inviting me. I've learned so much already. And my why is I don't want anybody to ever feel crappy about themselves ever again. I usually use another word. Never to feel crappy about themselves anywhere. I didn't have the worst childhood in the world. I really didn't. I had most of everything that I needed. And I was raised by a lot of people that had more narcissistic tendencies than anything else. They constantly harped on all the things that I was doing wrong. And that really eats away at a person. It really, really eats away at your confidence and everything else. And I compensated with eating whatever I could find from a very early age. And I work with people today. I work with mostly women. I work with mostly women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, some in their late 30s, who have multiple PhDs to prove that they're smart, who think that their only issue is an eating disorder. If not another person ever thinks another crappy thought about themselves for their entire freaking life. And if they do feel a crappy thought about themselves, that they're able to switch the narrative, they're able to switch the dialogue, because nobody gets to set your self-image about who you are, what you stand for, and what you like than you. How you dress, everything about you. And when that light goes on inside of a person, when it's reignited, when it's brightened, when it's buffed up, and they're no longer living their life to try to make the best out of a crappy marriage or out of a crappy job. And I usually use stronger words, that they're trying to hide who they really are because they think who they are is so awful, and it's not. It's that tiny little switch about who you are, about what you stand for. A lot of my clients at first didn't even know. And oh, that's the juice, that's the sass, that's the sexiness of it all. And it's just like that old Breck commercial from, I think it's from the 70s. And then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends. And so it's like, now this person stands up feeling tall and strong, and they automatically are looking for positive things in someone else and shining that light. And then they show their friends, and then they show their friends. It's the greatest secret ever told. The Dalai Lama said the world will be saved by the Western woman, and it's as she and the men claim themselves, who they are, and they treat other individuals like the powerful, wonderful beings that they are. That's the world we live in. That's why I do what I do.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, there's power in shedding everything that's told us what we can't do and who we have to be. And I think that we're just starting to see that process manifest itself in our society.
Yes.
All right, I want to go to somebody who's doing something new recently. And for this somebody to share what he's doing nowadays and his why. And that's Clint Webb. Clint, my friend.
Hey everybody, what's up, Dom? Good to see you guys. First thing, yay, Sarah, good to see you on camera. Jay, kind of freaking me out that you don't have your hat on, bro. But I love it. I love the new look, and it's so good to see you guys. Yeah, I started at a new place, back to my telecom roots. Working at a company, we're called Solido, so we do high-speed fiber internet in Raleigh and voice over IP service and stuff like that. So we are a locally owned company, been around since '99, and our owner is very community driven, and so we are all very community driven. Now, as far as my why goes, I'm known more of as a connector than anything that I actually do in my business life. And so my why is I like to get people together that would have never met in a normal everyday setting, right? So like I have some of you guys will know who I'm talking about. I have Miss D Todd, who Domenic and I have had the pleasure to know from our podcast. And, I think Jenny, I think we all kind of church it up a little bit on this podcast. I think everybody except for Greg McDaniel kind of churches it up on this podcast a little bit, Lisa. So I think you're okay too. There's people from all walks of life that would never have been able to meet. And then they end up, I was having dinner with D Todd, this woman named Caprice, who I think Domenic and Jenny both have met, and a friend of mine, Denise, and they would have never met in everyday life because they're from different ends, of North Carolina. And I got them all together for lunch or for dinner near my house. We all sat and had dinner, and it ended up that Caprice knew of D Todd because she went to Georgia Tech. D Todd was very influential down in Georgia Tech and with sports. And they were like, Caprice ended up kind of crying because of how much impact D Todd had on her life, and D Todd didn't even know. Right. And so then she actually meets her through me. So I'm just sitting back and listening. I don't participate in the conversation. I just enjoy the fact that I was able to get these people together. So my why is to just get people that don't know each other, that are of like mind and like attitude, and, be friends, and I think that, to speak to what Jenny was saying, my superpower, like Jenny, is I don't talk to anybody differently. I don't talk to my 19-year-old daughter any differently than I talk to you guys. And Dom can attest to that. Right. So it's like, I don't fudge it up for anybody. I church it up, as Jenny was saying, I don't, because on our podcast, we definitely don't either. So it's just one of those things. You try to be professional, but people still know who you are. And I've never changed. I'm not going to change. And if you don't like it, kind of one of those things.
That's a good why.
Yeah.
I like it. And, the amazing people that I've had an opportunity to connect with, because Clint makes those types of connections, have been invaluable. So, the passion that you have for bringing people together is, it makes you always a joy to be around. So
maybe I'll get paid for it one day, Dom.
Well, that's why you work, right? Because it allows you
Right.
to get paid for doing that kind of work.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
You just have to figure out how to monetize it in another way.
Yeah, definitely.
Next why I want to get to is Arline. Arline,
Hi.
hello, welcome.
I've been here in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my why is, well, first of all, I teach businesses and nonprofits how to get corporate sponsorship money that you can use to build your business, and you don't have to pay it back. So I started, I've always loved animals. That's my thing. Animals. I'm a crazy animal person. And I was doing some rescue in the town I live in. I live in Daytona Beach, Florida, for a couple of groups. And we did the trap, neuter, and return, where you trap the feral cats, you have them spayed, and you return them. And that way people will feed them, but it cuts down on the population by leaps and bounds because they can't reproduce. So I came upon this fish camp in July in Florida.
Hold on, time out. For anybody who doesn't live in the South, you're going to have to explain the concept of fish camp.
Well, rotting fish for about a mile away. It was actually a crab shack, which it was on the, so it was kind of a combination, but it was an old rundown one that
is there any other kind of fish camp?
I haven't been to many. So my niece called me. She was there and she said, Arline, you've got to get here. I don't know what to do. And I could hear the distress in her voice. And I was like, oh boy, this is not good. So I go there, I step out of my car, and I'm horrified because there's like 40 cats all over the place. And there's these kittens this big. They're like featherweight bodies. Their heads are like golf balls. They're dense heads. They couldn't even hold them up because they were so malnourished. And I'm freaking out because here I am, an animal lover, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I start picking up these kittens. I made a pouch out of my t-shirt. I start picking them up and putting them in my pouch. And then I ran out of room, so I just started stuffing them down my shirt because I couldn't leave them there, these little teeny kittens. And so I'm like, what a wake up call. Here we are going along, doing our thing and trying to, save some of the feral cats. And all of a sudden I came upon a situation where we did not have the money, the manpower, time, energy. How are you going to take care of 40 more cats? It's expensive. So that's when I thought, well, how come some, not just nonprofits, but also businesses, how come they really blossom and bloom and others just kind of plateau? And so I did some research and I realized that the companies and businesses and organizations that were really well known and succeeded all had sponsors. And I also realized you don't have to be big to get a sponsor. Sponsors make you big. So I looked into it, and our first sponsor, they didn't give us money, but what they did was they took those 40 plus cats, neutered them, gave them medications, healed the sick, did surgeries, and the bill would have come to about $25,000. And they did it all for free. And they even helped us find homes for some of the cats. So because I'm an animal lover, I started out, getting sponsors and so on for my groups. And then I realized there are so many, not just nonprofits, but businesses that can get sponsors. So I teach businesses, if they don't have a cause, we do a simple project, and it's a give back project to the community, and center it all around, doing good in the community and getting paid, monetizing it for yourself so you can grow your business or nonprofit while doing good and also helping a specific organization or group. That's my why. It all started with the love for animals and nature. And like I said, that's who I am.
And quite honestly, the necessity being the mother of invention there, right? You never would have found this path of teaching others how to acquire corporate sponsorship if you didn't have to do so yourself because of this crisis you experienced.
Right. And not only that, another crisis, because, most people associate sponsors with events. And then COVID came along and nobody was having events. So I kind of got in this.
Tell us about it.
And I started thinking, what am I going to do? So I just kind of meditated and let it go. And it came to me, I have a whole new way, a whole new system of getting sponsors without having to put on an event, but doing a project that's simple and easy for the starting, building your base in your community, and then we're working your way up to the national corporate level.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Arline.
Well, thank you.
Now, before we get to Jay and Jay's always fantastic wrap up, I am going to go to our hostess, who hasn't had much of an opportunity to talk since she turned over the microphone, and I can't stop myself. I'm going to ask Sarah. Sarah, what's your why as the co-founder of Rockstar Connect? Why do you do what you do? Tell us about it.
So the why for me has changed over the time that we've been doing Rockstar Connect. Initially, when we started it, my why was, well, it even changed initially. Like, it's been so many whys, honestly, up to now. So when we first started, when I first met my husband, I had been working in 9 to 5s for somebody else since I graduated college. I just didn't know anything else, and I didn't really understand the entrepreneur mindset or how you could work for yourself, or how, like, it didn't even seem, it felt like a pie in the sky thing, in that, like, you could try it, but most people fail. And I mean, this is the rhetoric you get, right? And so when Steven told me, this is actually possible. We can do this. It took like a big, great leap of faith for me to quit my job and say, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I started helping him in real estate before we started Rockstar Connect, but he had his own event going. And we had another gentleman who we had proposed this idea of Rockstar Connect to, who was our former CEO, became our CEO. And I started out as just facilitating. They had taken it off and were running with it. And I said, okay, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? So I ended up becoming really involved in it. And what it has then evolved into now, my reason for keeping it going is that I see the need out in the public for people to get together face to face, person to person, and meet and exchange ideas and come together. Because you can do a lot online, but you don't know necessarily who the other person is behind the screen, and who the other person, what's behind a screen name, you can sort of like know, if you've seen the screen name post over and over and over again, you sort of get an idea of who that person is, but not really, because it's all a facade. You can be whoever you want online, for better or for worse, right? But when you meet somebody face to face and you look them in the eye and you exchange a vibe with them, and I could go into I have this whole theory about vibes.
I think we've discussed that in person. And
we
vibed about it. Yes.
Right. So your aura, and I'll make it really short, but your aura essentially goes about 3 feet away from you, right? And when you get close to somebody and you're closer than 6 feet away from somebody, you are connecting on a level that is more than just what you're saying back and forth. It is
Pause.
Sorry. When you
I didn't mean to distract you. I was
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Where we're like, you can.
I felt like it had something to do with it. Sorry. When you meet somebody in person, face to face, then you can know sort of who that person is without even, more intently than you would ever know exchanging emails or letters or whatever with them. So my why now is that helps small businesses, it helps communities, it helps all of us grow and be better people, and better in business, and better in our communities, and better for our families, when we are connecting with other people and know that we are not alone in the world of small business. Because oftentimes it can be very lonely being in small business. You sit in your home office, you work, you may not have pants on all day, you go make dinner, you go to, and you very rarely communicate with people outside of your little, either your family or your little sphere. And even then, it's going to be on a phone call, or you're going to be on a video chat or whatever. So like when you get out and have a drink with people and can relax a little bit and shoot ideas back and forth and plan for another in-person meeting later, it can only make all of us better. And so that's my why now, is I want to make it all better.
Sarah, if I can elaborate on that,
yes,
just
please. As a host, you may absolutely elaborate.
Appreciate it. I think the digital world over the past 2 decades, that the internet has evolved into what it's become, and has moved us into our own silos. And we become more and more disconnected as the digital takes place of the in-person. It has driven people apart quite tremendously, and that bringing people together, that matching of auras, that being in each other's space, I think is going to do a lot just beyond the small business community, but the world itself, in helping facilitate understanding of people having different experiences, but sharing human experiences, and stepping out of the digital into the real is critical for winding back a lot of the vitriol, quite honestly, that we see out there in the world. And if you can have a conversation with somebody you don't necessarily philosophically agree with, but come to the realization that you're both people and you're both trying to do the best that you can with what you have, it's going to do a lot more than solve problems, just small businesses. So all of us here appreciate what you and Stephen have done and have created, which we have all had an opportunity to take part of. So thank you very much. And I want to, give you a round of applause here.
Thanks for joining us in it.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. Like, if it weren't for all of you, I'd be at a bar by myself being like, who wants to have a conversation?
Me, Sarah, me.
Probably nobody. Yeah, that's
be
Clint.
fine.
That's Clint. He's that guy.
Me, I do.
Yeah. Well, let me
But
go
what
over
if we're
to
not at
Jay.
the same bar, Clint?
Yeah. Let me
Sarah,
go
you
to
just tell
Jay.
me where you are, and that's where I'll be.
Damn it! We got 3 minutes, and Jay's gonna take 5. So
We can run over. We'll be fine.
I'm gonna be real quick. First of all, I want to step out and apologize to Joey, because Joey, my second language is, first of all, welcome, but my second language is Italian. And your last name, of course, is Natale, which means nativity in Italian, because when I'm with my Italian friends, we say Buon Natale, which means good nativity for Merry Christmas. So I said that to Domenic and Sarah before the show started.
Yeah.
And so Domenic, of course, called you Joey Natale. And then, of course, you subsequently said Joey Natale, which, by the way, which is common because a lot of Italian families dropped the vowel pronunciation on the thing. So I take responsibility for that, Joey.
No worries. Oddly enough, my family pronounces it Natale, which is also weird.
That's all good. I just want to take responsibility for it on my end here.
No worries.
Listen, I just want to say this. I wrote down everybody's why, and I'm not going to go through everybody's why, but I came across a theme that is so awesome. First of all, every one of you and people, if you're listening to this at some future time, if you listen to every one of these whys, let me just say this: every one of them behind it has a passion, right? I mean, if you listen to every single person that spoke here, there is a passion behind it. Sher, could Mark Sher be any more passionate about how the industry that he's in gets it so wrong and he wants to make it so right? I mean, is there anyone more passionate about that? Right? Is there anyone more passionate about, I want to get people out of debt? Is there any more passionate about, I want to bring joy to children than Katie? Is there anyone more passionate about, I don't want people to have another crappy day than Lisa? Is there anyone who's more passionate about, I want people to be authentically who they are than Jenny? And why is that? It's because there's something inside each one of us that is unique to ourselves, that we want to express our passion. But then, as Joey says, I found that I have these natural talents and abilities that I know that if I couple that with my passion and then I can give that to other people, then that becomes my why. This is where our passion meets our skills, and what we really just defined, what you just defined for everyone, whenever they watch this, is your purpose. You have purpose. You have a purpose. There's something inside you that says, there's something bigger than me and I'm contributing to the community. I was listening to Sarah and I wrote down 3 things. You know what? She wants to make a difference in people personally, professionally, and socially. That's what she wants to do. And she does that through Rockstar Connect. So I want people to get their passion, understand that what you have inside you, your passion, and what you have, their natural skills and abilities, you couple that becomes your purpose. Now, listen, I know I'm over time, and I'm going to be done here real quick. I'm a coach. I coach. I'm a life coach, business coach. I am a radio host, podcaster. I am a national North American speaker, national speaker, and I write books. Right, I'm an author. Right? Can I tell you something? I interviewed Helen Yu, who wrote the best-selling book on Wall Street Journal called Ascend Your Startup. And she also climbed Mount Everest, and she overlays starting your startup. She said, can you get your business down to 3 words? 3 words that can describe you or your business. I'm going to tell you what mine are. Positively inspiring resiliency. Everything I do, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm writing, whether I'm podcasting, whether I'm speaking, I want to inspire people in a positive way to be more resilient. That's it. That's my why. Because I want, there's a lack of positivity. I can't motivate you, but I can inspire you. And I want people to get off the ground. I want you to get off the ground because you can. And you're all proof of it. So I'm going to end it there, but Dom, back to you.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate the wrap up. And as predicted, you took 5 minutes. So
I know. Of course I did.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to fill in for Stephen this week. I appreciate all of your kindness and sharing your whys and, as Jay says, your purpose. And we look forward to seeing you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies. I
Okay.
appreciate you all.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.